I would say first and foremost to those who are experiencing those symptoms of that itch, that uncomfortable and that pain in your hand, like you are not alone. For such a long time I felt like I was super isolated and just withdrawing, especially when my skin was flaring up, but you're not alone in this. And if you're experiencing those symptoms, just know that you can get help and don't just brush it off, because for a long time you can say it's just dry skin, but if it's interfering with your work, your relationships, and just completing daily tasks, it's best to go into, a dermatologist. That way you can get the proper diagnosis, and then you guys can come up with that treatment plan together, and then you can get the relief and the care that you've been looking for.
Hey, this is Jonathan Marx from GoToHealth. I hope you're having a great day. Our topic today is eczema, but just not normal eczema. It's called chronic hand eczema, and it's a different malady I'd like you to learn about. For many adults, the persistent itch and painful irritation on their hands isn't just seasonal dryness. It's not cold winter weather or a reaction to hand soap. It may be chronic hand eczema, again, or CHE. New research suggests the condition is more common than many realize, affecting approximately 1 in 10 adults in the U.S. CHE can cause painful cracking, redness, itching, and even bleeding, symptoms that interfere with everyday tasks like preparing food or cleaning the house. CHE has been shown also to cause psychological and functional burdens that impact the quality of life for patients, with almost 1 in 3 individuals reporting that CHE really does affect their household and leisure activities. Our guest today is Jennifer Etienne. For years, she cycled through the over-the-counter creams and lotions that offered only temporary relief. Her symptoms disrupted daily routines, affected her confidence, and left her searching for answers. Her story reflects the real physical and emotional toll of living with CHE. We're also joined by Dr. Omar Noor. He's a board-certified dermatologist and clinical researcher and specializes in CHE and how it differs from other skin conditions and why it's often misunderstood and misdiagnosed. Please visit the website learnaboutche.com to learn more. Learnaboutche.com. And before we get to Jennifer and Dr. Noor, please visit our website at gotohealthmedia.com to learn more about many of our shows. And if you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, please leave us a 5-star review or a thumbs up. That helps get our word out to more people. Thanks in advance. So welcome to the show, Dr. Omar Noor and advocate Jennifer Etienne. How are you both today?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Good. So Jennifer, can you please share with us your experience living with chronic hand eczema, which is otherwise known as CHE? What symptoms did you have? How did they start? How's it doing now?
So for me, living with CHE, I grew up with regular eczema. So I was diagnosed at the age of 8 years old, and I was used to seeing it on the inner folds of my arms and the back of my legs. And when I got to high school, it started to spread on my hands, but it wasn't the same way that it would show up on my arms. So it was broken, cracked, inflamed, super thick and scaly. And then living with it, it caused me to be very insecure and mess with my confidence on how I viewed myself. Took a long time for me to see myself as beautiful, especially when my skin was like showing up the way that it did.
You are beautiful.
And for me, thank you so much. My skin now is so much better. I'm not like afraid to, because I used to deal with like being nervous about meeting new people because, you go to shake their hand and it's like, my hand is so broken. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I could shake your hand. Like, I'm okay. Like, I don't deal with that nervousness or that embarrassment, that I used to when my skin was like super wild.
And let me understand more about this. You say you're living with eczema. Are you still living with symptoms of eczema on other parts of your body, including your hands?
So right now, it did get a little bit colder, which my skin tends to flare up around that time. But I'm more so dealing with the dryness of it, not the inflammation, the itch. Right now, my skin is at bay. But again, with eczema and chronic hand eczema, it tends to flare up whenever it chooses. So I might be good today.
Yeah. So in other words, is it stress, or I can ask the doctor about this, but in your experience, Jennifer, is it stress? I mean, can you connect it to anything that brings this on?
Yeah, so for me, definitely stress was one of my biggest triggers. And then also when it came to like completing like housework, I have to watch what I use. So dish soap was one of the things that were a trigger for me. I don't wear any like scented lotions or perfumes because of like how sensitive my skin is. And I was in a
Yes.
state where my skin was just flared for so long that my skin just can't tolerate it. So those were the things that were triggering my skin, and I had to just watch for that as well.
Thank you for that. What would you tell other people who might be struggling with similar symptoms and, getting to a doctor, getting diagnosed, getting treated? What advice would you have?
I would say that first and foremost, you are not alone. For such a long time, I dealt with that isolation. I would withdraw when my skin was flaring. Like I could stay in the room like forever. You will not see me for hours because I would just be mentally focused on it. I dealt with that burden. And I would say that, to somebody who's experiencing those symptoms of the itch, the inflammation, the scaliness, because again, it can be so much different symptoms, that you're not alone in this. And that's something that I had to learn. And if you are experiencing those symptoms where it's persistent to the point where it's affecting like your confidence and also your work and your relationships, I think it's time that you would it's important for you to go and get that diagnosis. So that way you can get that relief that you've been looking for, because it's super important. It's hard to work with, your hands, especially because that's what we use so
Yeah.
much. It's hard to work with hands that are broken, and that's in pain as well. So going
Mm.
to get that diagnosis so you can get that treatment started and get the relief is so important.
I have more questions to ask you, but let me ask Dr. Noor a few questions. So, Dr. Noor, what are the signs that someone's eczema might actually be CHE or chronic hand eczema, and how are they different?
I think that's the most important thing, is identifying that if you have these red, scaly, cracked hands, they are in fact more than just dry skin. That's what my patients come in and say, I have these dry hands, I have these, but why is it so dry? It's because there's inflammation underneath the skin that causes these symptoms. And then externally, there can be multiple triggers that in fact make it worse. And everyone is different. Everyone's presentation, like Jennifer mentioned, her symptoms can vary, but one thing that is consistent, it is chronic. It is relapsing. So as this happens again and again, that's really where you need to focus in on seeing a dermatologist, making sure you're diagnosed appropriately so then you can be on the path to getting better, feeling better, and having that maintenance of treatment over the long run.
And is chronic hand eczema coincident with eczema on other parts of the body? Is it different? Is it a separate malady?
So it is an entirely separate disease entity.
Wow.
Eczema, which you have over your body, is similar in that you have itchy rashes. If you go on a cellular level, chronic hand eczema is distinctly separate than eczema. There's a different pathway internally that causes the signs and symptoms of their chronic hand eczema. So by identifying it appropriately, we can then treat it for that appropriate pathway to help those individuals specifically for their chronic hand eczema.
I asked Jennifer before, maybe you can shed some light on this. What are some typical triggers that might worsen symptoms? She mentioned stress, but I'm curious if there are others.
Absolutely, and there are quite a few. Stress is definitely one of them. Stress will upregulate antibodies and inflammation in your body to cause the flares, but just a change of season. I'm in New York, she's in Florida, but even the warm weather and a change of season, if it gets a little cooler, she's flaring. The cold weather right now in New York is rough. And a lot of patients are coming in with their cracked, fissured fingertips and hands, dryness that's making their hands flare. We see chronic hand eczema more often in certain specialties or certain fields. Healthcare workers, food operators, hairdressers, mechanics, people that work with their hands quite often, they tend to have higher rates of flares of their chronic hand eczema.
Got it. Thank you for that. So why is it so often overlooked by both patients and healthcare providers, this chronic hand eczema? Why doesn't it get recognized and treated?
So a lot of times my patients will come in and say, this is just dry skin. I've just been dealing with it. Maybe they try to power through it, they white knuckle through it, or it flares and it relaxes. So a lot of my patients will come in and say, my hands are okay today, but last week they were miserable. And that actually creates a very demoralizing situation as patients are dealing with the misery of it. It starts to get better. They think that they're out of the woods. And then all of a sudden it comes back and they think they're the failure. But in fact, that is just the disease course. So that also slows down their ability to come in and be treated appropriately. And then a lot of the issues are also on our side. As a dermatologist, chronic hand eczema presents very differently. As your listeners will go online, they'll go to learnaboutche.com. They'll see lots of different photos, different presentations of chronic hand eczema. It can be blistered. It can be red. It can be scaly. The presentations vary so much that sometimes dermatologists don't even identify it appropriately.
So Jennifer, tell us, you say you have occasional flare-ups. How often does this happen and how long does it last for when you do have a flare-up?
So for me with the chronic hand eczema, I was dealing for a flare up with it was just going consistently for over a year. So because I was, interacting with the triggers, you have to wash dishes, and the things that I was using to protect my skin was the things also causing the irritation and the flare ups. So, with gloves, it can be nitrile or latex. And I found that when I was using either or, I would either get a trigger to it. And now that's, delaying my skin from healing. And then washing the dishes and working with cleaning products. That was one of the things that was causing me to be flared up. And then also dealing with stress. So, I got the stress and then the trigger. So for a long time, my skin was just not cleared at all. And I was dealing with that flare for over a year. And I would say that oftentimes, again, my skin can flare in the summer and also in the winter. It really it's so complex that anything can trigger it. But I would say that I've been experiencing flare-ups from it could be anywhere from 4 times a year. But sometimes it's been times where my skin just stays in that state where my skin is inflamed, itchy, thick, scaly, and it's gone over for a year. But today I'm okay. But for the most part, I've experienced it for that long.
Good. That sounds so challenging. Are there lessons you've learned from all this about things to avoid? I mean, what are you doing differently in your lifestyle now to hopefully avoid this? Or do you really feel like you have no control over when it comes up?
For now, I would say that just I've become this skin expert. So I'm always checking for my skin. So just making sure to avoid those triggers, trying not to use hot water, even though I love it. Watching when my skin is if I have an itch, is there some small circle that's starting to form where it could potentially now start to spread out, and taking note of what I interacted with within that day, making sure I'm, not in a state of stress is super important. And I would say now I definitely have a control over it. And because I've found a dermatologist who listened to me, we came up with the treatment plan. But for such a long time, I was just managing it on my own, but I was barely getting by. It was so hard.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because what I hear in so many shows is the importance of being an advocate for yourself. And if you don't have a doctor who's listening to you, find another doctor who's going to listen and help. You don't have to suffer alone. Thanks so much for those messages. So Dr. Noor, are there things that patients can do to avoid flare-ups, things that reliably they can avoid?
Absolutely. So one of the main components of chronic hand eczema is the fact that the skin is actually broken down. There is a barrier issue. Even though you may not notice it if your skin is thicker, but if there's a barrier problem, then inherently the things that are going to naturally aggravate your skin, like in Jennifer's case, certain dish soaps, certain scented lotions, fragrances, if your barrier is broken down, those are going to constantly cause a problem. So making sure that you are constantly hydrating your skin, hydrating your hands, identifying things that might be astringent, might be ripping away at the barrier, and focusing on things that can help build the barrier, like hand lotions, moisturizers, and then, of course, going to see your dermatologist to make sure that you're on the right treatment plan.
Got it. And tell us a little bit more. What can people learn when they go to learnaboutche.com? What will they see there?
Really, the most important thing is identifying the situations for you specifically that might help you identify that you have chronic hand eczema. Because it is a condition, it's a disease where on average, patients that come to my practice, they've been dealing with this for years.
Mm.
And I asked them, you're in pain. Think of when you woke up this morning, Jonathan. Within the first hour of waking up, how often did you use your hands?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine at every moment you used your hands this morning, just for that 1 hour, it was painful. It was uncomfortable. It was itchy. It affected your ability at every one of those moments. Now, some of these patients, Jennifer, dealing with it for 1 year as a flare, as just uncomfortable, non-relenting. A lot of my patients come in, they've had it for 3 months. If you have chronic pain in your knee for 3 months, you're going to see a doctor.
Sure.
Treat your hands the same way. Give them the ability to get better, and understand that when you come in, as you can see, as Jennifer has gotten better, I'm happy, right? We're all happy. We see that we want to get better together. A lot of my patients will come in and say, listen, I'm just here for my hands. I know it's not a big deal, but it's really bothering me. I know it's a big deal. Come in, get better.
Great. Thank you so much. So let me ask, are there questions that I haven't asked that I should have, or what kind of big message would you like to leave with people today? Let's start with Jennifer.
I would say, first and foremost, to those who are experiencing those symptoms of that itch, that uncomfortable and that pain in your hand, like, you are not alone. For such a long time, I felt like I was super isolated and just withdrawing, especially when my skin was flaring up. But you're not alone in this. And if you're experiencing those symptoms, just know that you can get help. And don't just brush it off, because for a long time you can say it's just dry skin. But if it's interfering with your work, your relationships, and just completing daily tasks, it's best to go into, a dermatologist. That way you can get the proper diagnosis, and then you guys can come up with that treatment plan together. And then you can get the relief and the care that, you've been looking for.
Good. You give so many great messages, Jennifer. You really have a lot of great experience and a lot of good information to share. Really finding a doctor who will work with you, and then working with them and being really honest and open and getting your problem solved. Dr. Noor, is there any message you'd like to leave with people today?
Jennifer said it so beautifully and so eloquently, but I'll tell you, I had a patient recently, it was a mom, and she felt uncomfortable holding her daughter's hand as they walk to school. So know that we have treatment options. This affects so many people in so many different ways, whether it's affecting your job, your relationships with your own children. Come in, find a dermatologist. And Jonathan, you said it earlier, you have to advocate for yourself. Speak up. If you're dealing with something, we can help you find the right answer. And if that means finding a second opinion, you know what's best for you.
Good. Thanks so much, both of you, for being with us today. We've been talking with Jennifer Etienne. She's been an advocate for chronic hand eczema, or CHE. We've also been talking with Dr. Omar Noor, who's a board-certified dermatologist and clinical researcher who knows about CHE. And again, CHE is chronic hand eczema, and you can learn more when you visit the website learnaboutche.com. Again, both, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Jonathan.
much.
Good. This has been Jonathan Marx. You can visit our website and learn a lot more about a lot of topics we cover at GoToHealthMedia.com. If you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, please leave us a thumbs up or a 5-star review. That helps get the word out to more people. Thanks in advance. This has been Jonathan Marx with GoToHealth, and as we say at the end of every show, Go to Health. God bless. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in today to Go to Health. You are one of almost 10,000 people per day who enjoy the evidence-based health information offered by our guest health experts. You can watch us on our website and YouTube and listen to us on 8 podcast networks. Be sure to join Jonathan Marx in our upcoming shows each week. If you like our show, please share this episode with your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe to the show, join our email list, send us feedback, browse through the online store, and view our library of over 150 shows at GoToHealthMedia.com. See you next time, and remember to elevate your life with GoToHealth.